Why am I talking so much about frequency? Because this is a slight rebuttal to someone else's comments about frequency. And I'm like, dude, you are either your message was taken out of context or you are not as versed as you should be.
Hello, and welcome to the Constance Messmer podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hey, Constance Messmer here. Listen, I want to talk to you about animal communication, specifically if you're a dog owner. There are a lot of ways that dogs communicate with you on a soul level, right? It is not just frequency. Everything is energy and made up of frequency, yes, but because you're probably using a mix of your external senses, your voice, and also internal thoughts, you're relaying information on a lot of fronts. So it's not just frequency. When you communicate with your dog friend or animal friend and you say, good dog, but you could also say, bad dog, in the same intonation, they might get excited either way because your intonation is both heightened. So they're picking up your intonation. And I'm going to guess when you're doing those, because I've messed with them myself with our dog Champ, when I've done good dog, and bad dog, and he responds the same way, I'm also recognizing that in my mind, I am sending the image of a good dog, not bad dog images. And they are very good, typically, at picking up visual clairvoyant cues. So oftentimes, I would just picture in my mind, without any words, what I would want Champ to do. And he would come running and do what I was asking as a visual in my mind. When we communicate externally with our voice, animals also pick up our energy, right? That frequency of our anxiety or our frustration or our excitement, they definitely pick up that frequency, right? That's clairsensation. And so they pick that up too, much like we can. So when we're down or depressed, they might feel that and sense that with clairsensation, and they come around us to cheer us up or be at our side. They can tell, they just tell that's the frequency of clairsensation. So each of the soul senses are distributed out with a specific frequency, in my opinion. Why am I talking so much about frequency? Because this is a slight rebuttal to someone else's comments about frequency. And I'm like, dude, you are either your message was taken out of context or you are not as versed as you should be. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? All right. So it does sound bad. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound bad. I just mean to say, there's always more to the story. Even with my content, I'm sure there's deeper ways of interpreting the meaning and information. And I just want you to really understand the nuances and just get all psychic nerdy with me. Listen, this is why I wrote my book, right? Some Dogs Talk. In it, the protagonist, Tony, you see the matching shirt. In it, the protagonist, Tony, is conversing with his brother, Jason, his older brother, and they talk about the different ways that the animals and the dogs communicate with Tony and Tony communicates with them. And I don't want to do any spoiler alerts, right? I don't want to tell you about it. If you're interested, read it for yourself. It's great for adults and kids. But it's that awareness that animals communicate on a lot of levels. And there's some people that think it's only frequency and that they don't understand words. I beg to differ. Fetch, ball, sit, heel, come, all the same kind of, I'm not a linguist, but all the same short words. My dad used to train our dogs and they knew all those words. They sounded the same, but they knew exactly what he was after. Granted, I know probably knowing my dad, he was picturing in his mind what he wanted, and you probably are when you're saying paw and you put your paw, your paw out to shake their paw, then, you're probably giving visual cues too. But some of the words that my dad would use, over when he wanted to get the dog to go in a certain direction, he would definitely move his hand. But some of the words, and when you're saying sit or down or whatever, you're teaching that. But then after a while, you don't have to use your hands and they know those words and they're all short. So I beg to differ to those people that don't think dogs understand words. They do. They just do. Anyway, have fun with it, right? With your animal friends. Definitely kind of work with your soul senses that I'm teaching you, the psychic skills that you are working on to communicate internally only on a soul to soul level because they're sentient beings, but also back up your verbal communication with your psychic communication visually and stuff like that. I think I've told you before that when I would talk to our dog Champ and I would say, come, I would also picture in my mind him coming. And I did this a lot when I did mediumship for people that wanted me to converse with their animals when they were, all kinds of things, sick, forlorn, whatever. The horses, even. I mean, I would use it on horses and dogs and cats and, bunny rabbits, all kinds of animals. You can too. You can too. So I just want you to pay attention when you're listening to anyone's content, even mine, and check it in your heart and know and trust what works for you and work it out in your own field of, kind of study on it all, especially if it's important to you. In the book, it's so cute because the mom tells Tony that it's too bad that vets aren't taught animal communication as part of their studies. And I love that point. And the mom says maybe one day it will happen. I think there's a lot of veterinarians or people that are, chills, or people in shelters, animal shelters or humane society, animal workers that are really tuned in anyway, I'm sure you are. You've got this calling and longing and this connection to animals. And there's times when I'm like, yeah, I was a life as different animals. That just so resonates with me. Plus, we are one. So there's that too. But anyway, I'm sure with or without animal communication in veterinary schools or animal schools, I'm sure there's those of you that use it anyway. Use your skills with your furry friends. So realize that the communication of the animal comes in countless ways. And I've found that some dogs talk, which is why the book is that, but not all dogs talk. I don't know why, but some of them just aren't on the wavelength. Maybe it was me. Was it me? Did you just not want to talk to me? Was that what it was? Like, maybe they'll talk to you, but I don't know, whatever. Isn't it so funny? So play with it, right? There's just all these levels and layers that animals can communicate with us. And so I hope you have a fun time exploring that. Hey, if you want to get a copy of the book, you can go to the shop. You could also go to my website, constancemessmer.com, and click the link on the shop, and then it'll lead you to the book. Anyway, happy communicating. I totally adore you, and I love your animal friends. I already do. Hey, Constance Messmer here. I just want to do a shout out of big thanks to all the members. I am so grateful. And all the people dropping in and giving little donations here and there and super thanks and all that stuff. I really appreciate you. You members and you people contributing and subscribers are what helped me bring this content to everyone, really. They both contribute to the cost of production, and I am definitely grateful for that. This stuff is not cheap to put out. Oh my God. Oh my God. So every little bit helps, and I am filled with gratitude that you're stepping up. I am not necessarily a joiner, not usually, but there are environmental issues in other organizations that I do belong to and I contribute to because I like to see them persevere. And I'm hoping you feel the same about this work. I hope you put it into practice in your life. That's another way that you could spread this work and help change our world, which is what I think it ultimately does. As you know, I think if everyone tuned into their soul senses, the world would be a much better place. So when you subscribe, it's a big yes vote for the content, and it helps spread the work across the planet. So when you put the lessons into practice and subscribe and like and share, you help me help you carry the lesson beyond you and me. And I am just really grateful.
Legally speaking, this podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for medical diagnosis, treatment, or the advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. You should not use this information to diagnose or treat a health problem or condition. Always check with your doctor. Thank you.